tonight. In all the darkness, it's kind of hard to see the light. We need more people with compassionate and fewer commandos. Stand up for what's right on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio.
We're on air in 3, 2.
It's time to live.
Hello, welcome to the Vegan World Radio. We are cutting the theme song short because we have a very important show right now. My name is Dr. Crystal Heath, and I'm here with the soon-to-be Dr. Larea Cottingham, a fourth-year veterinary student at Washington State University College of Veterinary Medicine, and I have just ruined her life. And tonight, we are going to be talking about how veterinary students are trained. And we had to change our show because just a few hours ago we got very important breaking news. So please stay with us for the hour here on Pacifica's KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston. So that news a few hours ago was that your school, Washington State University, announced the cancellation of the third-year elective surgical lab, the horse section of that lab, due in part to a campaign that we had started, and we kind of want to walk through what happened there. But first, how are you feeling?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. Happy to be here and happy to have the opportunity to share what's been going on. I want to say that I want to be excited and feel accomplished because this is something that I've been working on and that we've been working on together for a couple of years. And I don't know, the way that it's all gone down and that the way that it's been framed, I'm feeling very anxious and kind of worried, actually. We'll get into all the background, but the email that was sent out this afternoon, and I can read it out here, says, Dear CVM faculty, staff, and DVM students, Washington State University is aware of the concerns and significant public attention surrounding the College of Veterinary Medicine's elective large animal surgery course. Over the past several days, the university has received a high volume of threatening and hostile communication towards members of our community. The safety of our students, faculty, staff, and the animals is our highest priority. Given the nature of these threats and similar incidents that have occurred at other research universities, WSU has determined we cannot safely proceed with the equine component of the surgery course this spring and will not move forward with bringing the 8 horses associated with the course to campus. And she goes on to talk about that students are going to receive full credit for the course, and, defending their animal welfare programs and their compliance with USDA and AVMA guidelines, and, other things like that. But it makes me concerned for 2 reasons. One, as an animal advocate, I am against any forms of harassment, violence, threats to anybody, and even perpetrators of animal harm and abuse or anything like that, because we have to remember that humans are a type of animal and we need to treat other humans with the same kind of compassion that we hold for our non-human animals. And so I am concerned if it's true that the school is getting threats and hostile communication. Frankly, it makes us all look bad, and it makes it so we don't get taken seriously. And it also prevents other students, other veterinarians, other people like you and me from speaking up in the future, because I read that and I'm like, oh, this is going to all fall on me, because everyone, all the students, they all know I'm the student that basically caused this to happen, for better or for worse. And I'm going to get blamed for all of it in the eyes of the students, all the students who are losing the surgical experience. That's another thing I'm concerned about. I think they're just canceling the lab, and I don't think they're going to provide students with comparable experience. So those students are going to be soured, and they're going to continue to say, hey, look, when we don't have terminal labs, we don't get surgical experience. And my whole point has been terminal labs prevent us from getting real experience, because as long as schools have terminal labs, then they don't have to go out into the community and provide opportunities for students to work on animals that actually need help. And we have a huge vet shortage in our area, especially large animal vet shortage. And the school has a really good opportunity to partner students with animals in need and community members and farms and, you know, everyone who needs vet care. But instead, they're going to just end this lab. The students aren't going to get the experience, and we're going to get blamed for how this all went down.
Yeah. But the good thing is 8 healthy former USDA research horses will not have to have their lives ended in this student surgery lab. Yes. And can you go into what they planned on teaching these students in this lab?
Yeah.
What were they going to learn from the lives of these 8 horses?
Yes. So, these horses were going to be used in 3 labs, or I guess they were going to be used in 2 labs, and then the 3rd lab, they were going to be doing work on cadavers, and it's unclear whether they were going to use these horses or if they had other cadavers already. The first, and I know we're live, we have a live stream going on here. I can pull up the IACUC protocol and share.
Yeah, like one of the labs was an enterotomy, where that's a procedure that's really only performed by board certified equine surgeons, not really a day one skill that students should be participating in. So that was sort of one of the issues. And I will say, like, this whole thing, a lot of students may be just aware of this for the first time, but we had been addressing the problem with Washington State University using this outdated lab for a couple of years. And we have had our, very polite, our honor veterinarians send them emails saying, ma'am, will you please consider, ending this lab that involves killing healthy horses, and instead change to a lab where students can learn on horses who actually need surgery and procedures under the guidance of experienced veterinarians. No response. And even you had a lot of delays in trying to figure out the status of these horses, because we were kind of under the understanding that, these are USDA research horses. They're probably infected with some disease. We can't adopt them out. But we didn't know for sure. And it was like, good on you for asking that question. And it finally took you doing a FOIA request, public records request, before they finally answered that question. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think maybe we should go to the beginning. Because there's more that I want to say on, the procedures that they were going to do on these horses. I think for everyone who might not have all the background on this situation, I think we should just start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
So I am now a 4th year veterinary student, but when I was a 2nd year, we were getting a tour of the facilities, and in that tour, the person giving the tour kind of offhandedly said, and this is where the junior surgery labs happen, and this is where the terminal goat labs for the large animal surgery elective happen. And I just heard that and I was like, what? Terminal labs? Vet schools are still doing that? Like, I thought that was a thing of the past. Like, I was totally surprised that I had gotten through a year and a half of school at this school and didn't know that. I mean, I was on a different campus for my first year, but our first 2 years, but still connected with this school. And I didn't know that this was happening. So actually there were a group of us who were chatting about it, and several of us were planning on taking that elective because we want to do mixed animal and we want, especially equine experience. And we decided to not take it. And so it didn't become a thing because we were just privately, conscientiously objecting to it. And I didn't really give much thought about it until the next year, about halfway.
So when you like have to like conscientiously object from this lab, then like you are denied that. You're like, oh, I disagree with killing healthy animals. So then you just don't get that surgical experience, which kind of seems unfair, right?
It does. And I was pretty bummed because from the beginning, I've, known that I was interested in surgery and wanted to take every surgery elective that I could. And so that was kind of the start of, my viewpoints on things changing and realizing like, oh, well, maybe I can't do this because, I can't get this surgical experience. Maybe I can't work on these animals because I'm not willing to take classes like this.
Yeah, that was kind of my experience at UC Davis too. I had to not take a large animal lab because it involved animal killing. And so then that means, oh, I'm probably not going to be a zoo vet or, have large animal expertise, which now that's what they always throw in my face when I advocate for farmed animals. It's like, oh, you're not a farmed animal vet. Well, I am the #1 farmed animal vet on X, according to Grok. But, it's true. I'm not your classic farmed animal veterinarian, though I do see farmed animals.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty interesting. I was having a conversation with an older vet who runs a mixed animal practice. And he was teaching me how to do horse castrations the other day. And we did 3 of them together. And
nice.
And I add that just to be like, I have found other ways to get this experience. But he was asking me like what my equine experience was and, what my plans after school is. And I told him that I started off like being all gung ho about equine and large animal because, I wanted to be able to advocate for these animals. But then when I got to vet school, I kind of realized it was a little cliquey and that I didn't really fit the mold. And so I felt socially discouraged by my peers, but then also by the faculty from continuing down that path. And but you know what's funny? He told me he felt the same way, and he grew up kind of like a more cowboy horse lifestyle, and now he runs a mixed animal clinic. And he said, 30 years ago he felt this way.
Yeah.
And
like an outsider, even though
it's super weird. He's like, horses are my life. They were my life. And he's like, you can totally do it. And now I am. My first job out of vet school, it's 50% equine, 50% zoo exotics. So you can get this experience and then still end up in these places that we're kind of discouraged from because of our ethical beliefs.
Yeah, it's weird. I felt the same way. Lifelong horse girl, yet vet school horse experience, I felt like I didn't belong. And there was always this myth. Oh, sea barn, which is the large animal area of the vet school. They're so cool and relaxed, and they're wearing jeans and all this stuff. And the small animal people, they're so uptight, and it's so, and I'm like, I am getting the exact opposite feeling. I'm like, my small animal people, they care about animals. I feel comfortable here. And the large animal sea barn, they're making me feel very unwelcome, very uncomfortable, very much like I don't belong. So that's how they kind of get you, I think. If you're not just down with anything, or if you voice concerns, this is what happens. And I also want to go back to the dean's email of what she said, about the threats and the violence. So I have been threatened and harassed by both veterinarians and animal rights activists. And it always, to me, hurt way more to be attacked by my colleagues, fellow veterinarians. I'm kicked out of Facebook groups, accused of being violent. And even right now, what's happening on my social media is everybody's responding to the dean's message and accusing me of being part of that violence. And that's what my colleagues do. And now I'm kind of like, I have an unearned reputation as being some kind of menace to society, which maybe is something I should play up to my advantage, but I don't know how to do that. And there's no evidence of me encouraging violence. Our honor's mission is all about nonviolence and respect for everybody. And we've seen how violence and threats and bullying and retaliation is always used more successfully by those with a big microphone and those in power than those without power. So as long as we pretend that retaliation, bullying, threats, and violence are a tactic that can be legitimately used, then we will always allow those with power to be able to wield that tool against those without power. So that's why I fundamentally disagree with bullying, retaliation, ostracization, all of those things.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling like, and I've seen this PR tactic used before. And this tactic is, we need to spin the attention away from the horses who now have their lives spared back to the behavior and the tone of those people who were advocating for this, and make them appear as bad people. Do gooder derogation, classic. Like, we need to find something they did wrong and attack them. This is Darbo: deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. And this is what they are doing. And
it's working. You know, as soon as I got that email, I had chills, and I was like, I'm scared for myself.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know, of course I'm trying to empathize, and I'm like, oh, this must be how they feel, and like why they're ending the lab, and like, this is awful. Like, I don't want activists to be making people feel this way. But this is kind of how I've been made to feel from the very beginning. So, you know, I talked about in my second year, I at first I just conscientiously objected, and I just wanted to finish my year, get good grades. Because kind of like you said, there's this like, oh, if you can't cut it, there's this attitude of like, you know, if you can't hack it, you need to get out. So honestly, my first 2 years of vet school was just really focused on getting good grades, proving that like academically I was worthy being in vet school. And like, so that at least couldn't be weaponized against me to say, oh, well, maybe you're just not cut out to be here. And then in the beginning of my third year, so this was September 2024, I sent out a school-wide email because I was elected as the curriculum committee representative. I didn't even like nominate myself or put my name in the ring, but because I was a former teacher and have helped start schools and have a lot of experience in curriculum design, some of my peers, you know, to my surprise, nominated me for curriculum committee representative. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do something with this. And so I brought the issue of terminal labs up to the curriculum committee. But before I did that, I sent out a school-wide email asking for student input on whether they felt terminal labs were ethical, and in what circumstances that they thought they were ethical, like always unethical, or, you know, ethical if animals were going to go to slaughter or were used in research, or always ethical no matter what. And I also asked students if they knew that there was a large animal surgery elective that had terminal labs, and like a quarter of respondents didn't even know that WSU still had a course with terminal labs. And, you know, and that was kind of my main goal with it. Was I actually, you know, I haven't had a lot of one-on-one conversations with people about this, and I really wanted to know. And the biggest backlash I got was from the students who kind of identify as being large or mixed animal. And, you know, they responded and said that I was, you know, my survey was super biased, and
classic,
you know, was trying to persuade, you know, paint terminal labs in a poor light. And undervaluing their educational value. And it was funny because at the time, like the admin, they didn't even respond to me. Like the only question I got about the survey was just making sure that all student responses were anonymous and that I wasn't capturing emails or anything. And which I wasn't. I just wanted to know the information. I didn't really care where the information was coming from. I just wanted to know what students thought about it.
But again, like it's attacking, like even just asking questions, they attack the way that you ask questions. And I have had the same experience happen to me when I was working with an animal advocacy organization. And I saw this man who was in a position of leadership romantically pursue a bunch of subordinate activists. And then I asked the question, like, is this sexual harassment? And even just, they're like, how dare you even ask that question? That's planting a seed in people's minds that he is a sexual harasser. So I can't even ask fellow colleagues and other attorneys if this is sexual harassment. That's crazy. How like that. And again, it's the second you get that should be a sign that there is a toxic situation here.
Yeah.
And
so there was a couple of students who reached out to me individually, but then there was one student who like replied all, and just basically like being like, this is, like the survey is really biased, and all of these things, and like trying to really paint me in a bad light. And I've still never had a one-on-one conversation with that student. Like they've never approached me about it in person. And I have friends who've taken the lab who've been like really open about how useful it was to them. And it's possible to like have a nuanced relationships and conversations. So yeah, I don't know, for the rest of that semester, it basically was what it was. And I had sent the dean an email at that point, because I think it got passed up the chain, like, hey, this is going to be a concern. And her initial response was just reassuring me that the animals used in these labs were treated with like utmost respect and everything was done very humanely. And I didn't doubt that. I know that they're given pain meds and that they're kept in clean, dry stalls and all of that. And in the case of the goats, hanging out for a few weeks at WSU is probably a lot better than being killed in a slaughterhouse. And I don't discredit that or deny that. And I had a request to meet with her at that point, but there wasn't really any follow-up. So I it was kind of like gnawing at the back of my mind, but I had gotten so much blowback from that email. I could just tell that people were talking about me behind my back, and and
that silences discourse. That makes you feel like I don't want to say anything. I don't want to talk.
Yeah. And I'm a pretty like I'm willing to say these things, and like it made me like sit and think quietly for a while. And then I did, some other conversations I did talk with the school counselor, because I wanted to share with him some of the research about how, as veterinary students progress through their education, they tend to decrease levels of empathy, and how that can lead to moral distress, and some of the challenges with students being able to identify and cope with moral issues. And I brought up terminal labs as a really good example of how the education system currently in schools that use terminal labs can kind of degrade one's empathy and then cause moral distress. Because I was like, well, maybe we'll go like the softer angle instead of, the curriculum angle. And, that didn't really go anywhere. We had
and this is like a known thing in just medical professions overall, is this idea that like we are morally vulnerable. There have been so many atrocities and bad things committed by veterinarians and human doctors, institutionalized crimes against our patients for a long time, and it might still be going on today, medical students are practicing pelvic exams on anesthetized women without their consent. There was just a law passed that they're not allowed to do that, but that was viewed as fine and good. The Willowbrook Institute, where institutionalized children were infected with hepatitis, the whistleblowers were viewed as these hippies, where the people who ran the Willowbrook, this disgusting place for institutionalized children that was just horrendous, bad welfare for these children, purposefully infecting these children with hepatitis, the heads of that institution were viewed as heroes and celebrated. And there are so many instances of that. And we've seen this throughout the veterinary profession too. We used to commonly practice multiple labs on animals, where we would anesthetize them multiple times, have students practice multiple surgeries on them, and then kill them after weeks and weeks of repeated anesthesia events. So yeah, this is just, and this just shows the barriers that exist to change, which you are personally experiencing. It's not just a like bureaucratic barrier. It's a psychological and cultural barrier. And it's so easy to paint somebody, especially a woman, as somebody who's like, don't trust her, she's not worth talking to. Like, just planting that seed in your colleague's head kind of makes you like, I don't want to become friends with her. And that's that psychological social barrier to change that exists. And it's so hard. Most people don't want to challenge that because it is painful to experience that. And I've experienced it multiple times from animal advocates, from the veterinary profession, and now it's painful to watch you go through that, because I know how it feels. So I applaud you for continuing despite how painful it is.
And I don't fault anyone for not, going public and or just facing the institutions and trying to ask these questions. And and I really have for a long time. And that's where I'm like a little frustrated right now, is like I've been, I think some of the narrative that's going on right now is exactly what you're saying. Like, she's getting her information from social media. She's working with the animal rights organizations. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, she's not large animal, like you're all lying. Of these things, and saying like, I'm not getting my information from reputable sources. And that's why I'm so glad to be here talking right now, because I now want to go into what has been a year-long conversation with the dean of my school. And we've had multiple in-person conversations. We've had, long email threads, and like, she's been really open and supportive of talking with me about it and getting me information that I can talk about and that I can share, that has kind of led to this moment. And
before we do that, if you're just joining us midway through the program, you are listening to Vegan World Radio here on Houston's own KPFT 90.1 FM and streaming on kpft.org online. So yes, continue with the story of all you've been doing.
So everything up until this point was kind of just backstory. Like, I was dabbling, conscientiously objected to not taking this elective course. I did a school-wide survey, tried to get the feel for how students would react, was very surprised they did not like I was asking questions and insinuating that terminal labs should end. And I should say there was a number of students who don't want to see terminal labs happen, but they're also the ones who already opted not to take the class. So then I kind of was at a loss. I was like, I don't really know. Like, this seems bigger than me. And I was chatting with a friend who had decided to take the course, and she and I have like really similar backgrounds and interests, and we had met in the class that we were in, and we were just connecting. And I was asking her, like, how she felt about the lab and if it was a really good experience. And she told me that she had really struggled with, the idea of the terminal goat labs, because she, really wanted this surgical experience, knew it was going to help her, in the long run, save more animals. And so she ultimately decided to take the course. But then, we were chatting and she was midway through the course. They had finished the terminal goat labs. And she's like, I just found out that the horse portion is also terminal. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew there was horses, but I couldn't imagine. I never even asked the question if there would be terminal horse labs, because WSU used to do terminal dog labs, but because they're, viewed as companion animals, people said no to that. And I just assumed people felt the same way about horses, because most people do. And I was just like, what? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, I don't think I would have taken this course if I had known. And this was already in March. This was halfway through.
They
And
should
so,
be upfront. Like, you should get
yeah.
know what, but that's the thing. They're not being upfront with these students, and they're kind of like thrusting it on them last minute. So you have no time to organize, no time to voice concerns.
Yeah.
And that's how problematic it is. And I published an article in the Journal of Veterinary Medical Education back in August, and we got public records on all of the public veterinary schools across the US and Canada, and showed how many animals were being killed in each school, and made that publicly available to people. But a lot of people aren't going to dig through all of that. And to this day, like, I have students reach out to me and they say things like, oh, I go to North Carolina State University, and they would never do that. And I'm like, girl, have you looked at what North Carolina State University does?
This is what got me. Like, of course, I care about the animals, and I'm like, I don't like that they're killing 60 goats a year. And now apparently it's 8 horses too. Like, I don't like that. But the thing that really got me riled up was the lack of transparency, and that people can go through their entire education at an institution believing that terminal labs don't exist and be proud that they go to a school that doesn't have terminal labs, and terminal labs exist. So I sent an email to the dean and the course director. And I basically was like, hey, I just learned that there's a terminal equine portion. I've been in contact with some sanctuaries, and they'd be happy to provide these animals with permanent, high quality homes. And I even apologized in that email, and I was like, I'm sorry I didn't reach out earlier, and that this was like, now this is
I'm sorry you didn't tell me earlier.
But I'm like, can we explore options for this year? Can we explore options for next year? This was last March.
Yeah.
And I think, at first the dean was like, thanks for being proactive. I don't know if we can do anything about it this year. As far as I know, there's this USDA policy that prohibits these horses from being adopted. She was like, I'm going to look into it. And I'm going to get together and meet with faculty. And so she did. She got together, she met with faculty, she asked the USDA. And another thing that I had brought up was, it's not explicitly written in the syllabus. And she was surprised. And she had required that it had been rewritten previously, and thought they had included it. And she saw that it didn't. And so that was actually one change that did happen this year, is the 2025 syllabus did not mention terminal labs at all. The 2026 syllabus now mentions that there are terminal labs and that these animals are treated with respect. And it's a very short statement, but at least it's in there.
Yeah.
The other thing that, so then,
I mean, and that just goes to show there's like a lot of things that just, it seems like there's not an attention to detail here. And like we've seen this with the recent IACUC protocol, that they changed the IACUC, which is the Institutional Animal Care and Use Protocol, which is required for all labs involving animals in universities, vet schools for training. They had to change that.
Yeah, and let me tell you why too, because so last year, I found out from my friend who was in the lab and I really tried to go to the source. I asked to have these meetings. At this point, I hadn't had an in-person meeting. And I, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second. So they told me that the syllabus would be changed for next year. And then I also was kind of chatting with the dean later on in the fall, actually, because, I was kind of frustrated that nothing really happened, that like the only thing that I got out of it was like a promise to change the syllabus next year. So I actually had submitted an op-ed to the Veterinary Information Network, and they did not end up wanting to pick up my op-ed, but instead they wrote a feature piece. And they interviewed me and other vet students at my school, and also different administrators. And
they included my paper in it and came to a completely different conclusion than what my paper actually concluded. They're like, oh yeah, terminal labs are going away. And I'm like, no, my paper is showing it's actually continuing. But yeah, anyway, continue.
So they wrote this paper, or this article. And so then so that was in May, I had reached out, and then we had a couple of meetings, me and Vin, some back and forth about quotes and stuff. And then the paper was published in, I think, September of 2025. So then the dean reaches out and asks to meet in person. Her email was just like, hey, the VIN article came out today. Would love to chat with you about it. And at first I was like, ooh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And it was totally the opposite. She was like,
because the VIN article was very nice to them.
It was super balanced. And, she was like,
I would say balanced in their favor, not necessarily balanced in an accurate way.
For sure.
Yeah.
It didn't paint the school in a poor light. And and it was great. Like, the dean and I had a great meeting. She was like, I think what you're doing is good. It's not going to happen. Like, this is a really contentious issue. She's like, I would like to see terminal labs gone. But she's like, anytime this sort of thing goes out into the world, she's like, I get so many emails from alumni, and I get so many complaints from students who are afraid that we're going to take away terminal labs. And she was already getting those emails from this VIN article, because people were like, don't get rid of terminal labs. Like, we really want to keep them. And I don't know. I found that really interesting. It's like, where are the emails from veterinarians who support the end of terminal labs and want schools to transition to access to care models and community-based medicine?
I found that super interesting too. And I've found in my own advocacy, we have this huge network of veterinarians who are wonderful and want to change things. And we've done lots of polling and seen how most veterinarians agree with us, but they're very quiet. And it's the very loud people, the ones who work for the industry, work for research medicine, work for livestock interests, who are extremely vocal and empowered.
Yeah.
And our people are not. And so we changed that a little bit. It did take the public. We spent a long time getting our own veterinarians to send them letters, but that didn't go anywhere.
I know.
Finally,
if people are outraged at the letter writing campaign, it all started because people were already doing a letter writing campaign. It was just the people supporting terminal labs. And that was her main reason for not. I was like, oh, so getting a lot of annoying emails makes you act, or in this case, not act. Interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I just want to say, I really like Dr. Borgerson.
Yeah.
She's been really great to me. She's been.
I knew her from UC Davis when I was there. Good person. I think she loves animals. She cares about animals, and she's trying to do right by her students and her faculty and everything. And she's put in an extremely difficult position. And yeah, and I have nothing but empathy for her and respect.
Same. Yes. And I am. Yeah, I just want her and everyone else to know, like, I don't want her to be receiving hate and harassment and threats. Like, she's a good person, and even if she wasn't, like, no one deserves that. But she's a really good person, and she is making a lot of good changes, and she is willing to make changes. So she did make sure that the syllabus was changed. And then in that meeting, we discussed the dean doesn't know the machinations of every single course. Like, how could she? That's, she's focused on, like, big picture stuff. And so I think something that really bothered her, and something that really bothered me, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but something that we had discussed was that last year and in the years before, these horses underwent anesthesia multiple times and had multiple procedures done. So you asked at the beginning of the show, what are the procedures? So in the past, the first one was just anesthesia. And then the horses would wake up and then, live another week. Then they'd go under anesthesia a second time. They would have a tendon surgery and a nerve surgery. They would get woken up, go on to live another week. And then the third week, they would have intestinal surgery. And then they would be euthanized before getting woken up. And, like, this is the stuff that we hear about what vet schools, like, back in the day were doing, what WSU was doing in the, I guess as early or as late as the early 2000s. But I didn't think, like, this was still happening. And I don't think she did either. So we had another meeting in December of 2025 because I wanted to follow up to see if I could get the new syllabus to make sure that there was a terminal lab statement in the syllabus. And she told me that they were also redoing the IACUC protocol because she wanted to make sure that the horses were only undergoing surgery one time. And so this is why the IACUC protocol got rewritten, was because the dean wanted to improve the welfare of these horses. And so she and the course directors got together, discussed this. And so now in the current protocol, the first lab is anesthesia, no procedure. Horses are woken up. The second lab, and the only other lab, the horses have the tendon, nerve, and intestinal surgery all done in one go. And so she really was, willing to make some kind of change.
Yeah.
And so that's the backstory is, even before now that these horses are saved, there was progress. It was just slow and catchy. No one really was that interested in it. And
and also like that IACUC protocol did finally change in February, but when we got it, there was some mistakes, like the animals sourced for this lab. It said there was some discordance. It said these are all animals who are purchased, who are intended for slaughter in one part. Later down, it says like the horses were sourced from a USDA research lab, but up at the top, when it encompasses all horses and the reason that those animals were chosen, it says that they were all intended for slaughter, which the IACUC committee saw that and made the decision to allow this lab based on that, which is not necessarily true information, which is kind of a problem and something we tried to leverage as a reason to put a stop to this lab so that we could potentially save these horses. Now discovering that these horses
were eligible for adoption, which all along, like, everybody just had been under the assumption that since these were USDA resource horses, they were infected and they couldn't be adopted out. And it took you pressuring them and doing a public records request till they finally let it, like, made it aware to everybody, like, oh, actually these horses aren't infected, they are eligible for adoption, but it's too late to stop the lab. And it's like, hold on, institutional inertia is never a reason to allow an animal to die needlessly. So that's when things really started to ramp. Like, this is a huge problem. We have this opportunity to stop this and save these horses. Like, let's do this.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating, and I am blaming myself for not doing this last year and saving the horses last year.
I mean, that's my job, for the record. I'm actually blaming myself for not doing that. But, yeah.
It's, and in the whole time, and this is why it really does bum me out that, my colleagues and fellow students are saying that I'm spreading misinformation and that I'm getting this information from social media. And I'm getting this information, like, from our top official in the vet school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who else am I supposed to get this information from? And so,
and that's why we have to, like, I feel bad. I feel a little guilty putting out these emails and stuff, but these are public emails. We could get these emails through public records requests. But when you're calling a student a liar, that is damaging to your reputation. That's against the veterinary practice, like the ethics, veterinary medical ethics, to defame a colleague. So, hey, like, we got to set the record straight. This is factual information. Here are the screenshots. These horses can be saved.
yeah,
Like, let's not attack our colleagues. And you guys nitpick everything that we say as, like, not entirely accurate, but you don't do the same thing when it comes to those in power. And we need to be balanced in our adherence to, in our efforts to be accurate about everything, and not just cherry pick when somebody makes a mistake.
And so you brought up the USDA policy. So yeah, again, this goes back to last March when I found out that there was a terminal equine portion. And, back then the dean was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is USDA policy. I'm going to investigate this. And then she did tell me, she's like, okay, yeah, these horses were used in infectious disease research. They can't be adopted. And so, I was like, bummer, but I don't want to make a big stink about this. I don't want this to be like a huge press thing if there was no chance of the horses being adopted anyway. So I'm going to at least, let's try to get the horses to have less anesthetic events. Let's make sure that it's transparent to the students what kind of thing they're getting involved in. So I kind of stopped focusing on the animals and really focused more on the pedagogy, the teaching side of things, and the institutional transparency side. But then it started to gnaw at me, and I was just like, I need some proof that this policy exists, and I just need to make sure. And so when I reached out in December of 2025 to ask about the syllabus and the curriculum changes, I was told again that the USDA prohibits the adoption of horses. And she actually told me that she thinks that they do this because, and I don't know if this was her own inference or if this was actually what she was told by the USDA officials, that it's because the USDA doesn't want the public to know that they're still testing on horses.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally would make sense that there's some policy like this so that it doesn't get out to the public. But I couldn't let it rest. And so I started looking into it and found that there is no USDA policy. And there are multiple animal research groups and laboratory veterinarian professional associations that have statements on their websites saying that the adoption of research animals is permitted under USDA policy, and that these organizations support the adoption of animals as long as it's in the animal's best interest.
Nice.
And that the only policy that prevents animals from being adopted out is if they pose a public health risk, either by, being like aggressive, maybe like a threat to human safety, or by carrying some sort of infectious disease. And so then I asked the dean, I asked the campus veterinarian, I asked the USDA folks at WSU, I asked them if they could tell me if these horses were infected or not, and that if they're not, they actually are eligible for adoption, and that we could actually adopt them out, because it seems like from the conversations between me and the dean, like we both want this to happen. And I didn't get any response on this. Like, we had other email threads going and they would respond to all my other questions, but they wouldn't respond to the question if the horses were infected. So in February of 2026, I submitted a public records request, and a couple weeks later, or maybe it was a week later, the dean sent me an email basically saying, hey, public records requests are really time consuming and expensive. Would you be satisfied with some direct information and like a more narrowed request? And I was like, yeah, I'd love some information. And so
just answer my question.
Yeah. And so I had this bullet point, and if you're on StreamYard, I'm going to share this, or if you're watching this live stream and not listening to it, I'm going to share this email that she sent, because this has my bullet points of that I had asked for. So I said, I want to know if they're infected and if they could be eligible for adoption. And I quote, the horses used in this year's lab were not infected and would have been eligible for adoption had we known in time to alter this year's course. Classes are selected and scheduled far in advance. And this really frustrated me, because I brought this issue up almost a year ago at this point, and no one looked into it. It wasn't until I just kept asking and I kept asking, and I finally
annoying.
I had to send the proof and be like, look at these other organizations who conduct animal research on animals, who support the adoption of animals. It's not against policy. And so this is the point where I did reach out to you. And I mean, we had been talking privately, and just so everyone knows,
and I had been doing my own research and public records on them too. So
and you had been wanting to make videos about it for months.
Yeah.
And you had even made one, and I told you to take it down.
And I took it down.
I don't want to go public with this. Like, we have a good working relationship, me and the dean, all of these people. Like, I'm not trying to slam them. I'm trying to make sure that we can get this done. I want to prove that we can get this done by cooperating and working together, not causing public outrage. Like, this was my philosophy about it until this, because I just, in this moment, when I got this email, I felt like I had been given the runaround. And
and we're going to also, I think we'll go into this a little bit more on our social media. We're nearing the end of the FM radio show, Vegan World Radio. And I just want to play one clip before the Vegan World Radio ends. And the great John Kiriakou, if you don't know him, he is a CIA whistleblower who has gone very viral on TikTok and is beloved, and he served 23 months in prison for blowing the whistle on the CIA's enhanced interrogation tactics. And Blue, if you'll play that clip, he spoke out in support of us and WSU, encouraging the students to conscientiously object to this lab. So go ahead and play that.
WSU veterinary students, John Kiriakou here. Hey, some of the university veterinary grads have reached out to me to tell me what's going on with this third year.
This is about a minute and 30 seconds. After this, we'll have about 2 minutes to wrap the show.
Okay.
In your gut are just wrong. It's not too late to conscientiously object to this lab and to allow these animals to go to a sanctuary. I kind of made a name for myself by objecting to the CIA's torture program. I was the only person who objected to the CIA's torture program. And I paid for it with my freedom. I went to prison for 23 months. I lost my job. I lost my house. I lost my wife. I lost my children. I lost my pension. I lost literally everything in my life. And I would do it again today if I had the opportunity to do it. Stand up for what you believe in. You want your children and your grandchildren to be proud of you. You want to be able to lay in bed at night and think, you know what? I did the right thing when the chips were down. So think about this. Consider it. It's the right thing to do. And you know in your gut that it's the right thing to do. So keep up the
2 minutes to wrap. We're on in 3, 2.
Save these animals. I'm pulling for you.
I just died when I got that from him. I posted it on my TikTok. It's gone viral on TikTok, and those are powerful words, and that's something everybody should remember. And thankfully now this lab is canceled. Unfortunately, it's being framed as a safety issue, and our work isn't over. We still have to make sure that these horses do go to a sanctuary. And I'm not sure exactly how logistically that's going to work out. I am down to drive a horse trailer up there, pick up the horses and drive them down to wherever sanctuary. Triple J Horse Haven in Apple Valley, California has agreed to take them. If I understand, I'm worried that this might turn into some sort of ego battle, and they're going to be like, no, we have a sanctuary of our own. We're going to send them to who knows. I don't want this to turn into an ego battle in any way. And whatever we have to do to make sure those horses go to safety, I will do. Whatever the university wants us to say, I will say. But yeah, we are reaching.
And we need to make sure that the university stops doing terminal labs, because they haven't said anything about ending goats next year. And, 60 goats are still scheduled to be killed next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, until they commit to ending terminal labs for good. And there's a couple of dozen other vet schools in the US that need to follow suit. And so this isn't the end. I hope people don't lose motivation for this issue, because there's so many more schools and more animals that need to be saved.
And we are reaching the end of the hour. If you've missed any of the show, you can always hear it again on the archive at kbft.org. And please tune in for Vegan World Radio next Monday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Thank you, Blue, our sound engineer. And do keep listening for more progressive programming here on KPFT 90.1 FM Pacifica Radio in Houston, Texas.
It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more animal rodeos.
All right, so we're gonna transfer over, and I gotta turn up my sound on the StreamYard. So meet you over there. Now I gotta see if I can figure out. I got some things in the chat that the sound isn't great, or there was some echo. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to hear any of this because we've been live on the FM radio show. But let me see how this sounds here. Now I can hear on the StreamYard. Let's see how this is going. Now we can swear all we want. We can say an F word because we're off FM airwaves.
Yes.
And we have as long as you want to
I was just kind of scrolling through some of these emails because I have this whole outline. So this is the email that's on here right now, is the kind of the final verdict. And there's just so much. Like, when people tell me I don't fully understand the situation, I just want to send them the document I've made that links every email that I've received and be like, I am the situation. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's so being accused of being a liar and being like, I have a dossier. And anybody out there who thinks that I'm a liar about anything that I say, and they're always afraid to like talk in person. And do you want to see all the documentation that I have about whatever drama is going on? And Laura, you have the documents to prove everything here. So let's go through it.
Yeah, well, let me just.
And it's hard for people to believe. I think like that's another thing. Like people always are like, well, WSU is one of the top veterinary schools. How could they possibly be doing anything wrong? Let me tell you, that's how it is. The Karolinska Institute, nobody believed that they could do something that was harmful to patients. And people were dying in their tracheal transplant studies. And it took multiple nurses speaking up before they stopped the surgeon who was basically maiming people. So I'm telling you, like, you should definitely not trust respected institutions, because those are the ones that are hardest to whistleblow about, because nobody believes the whistleblowers. And
everyone needs to read The Occasional Human Sacrifice by Carl Elliott. The moment in that book that has really stuck with me is when, and I read it a couple of years ago, so I might not be remembering everything exactly, but when he talked about how like the head or like one of the main researchers who was running the hepatitis studies on the children at Willowbrook, how he ended up getting some award from like, and basically became like this grantee from the American Pediatrics Association. Like I felt like, and I heard the glass shatter in my brain of like, whoa, what does it actually mean to get these awards, to get recognized for the, like, so many people who have done these, who have these amazing awards are responsible for some major atrocities.
I'm thinking all of the AVMA Humane Award winners, the AVMA President's Award, going to a man who I have a dossier full of him saying the most homophobic, transphobic, racist things on his Facebook. And he got the AVMA's President's Award for bringing a diverse perspective to the veterinary profession. Of course, he was a white man whose diverse perspective was farmed animal stuff. But yeah, like, and we see this in the animal rights movement too. Hello, like, I can be vegan. What's your excuse? Always listen to whistleblowers. Why not listen to whistleblowers in the animal rights movement who are being deplatformed, who are being denied speaking engagements at AVMA conferences? Women who voice concerns about men in power. So when you say support whistleblowers in all of your spheres, do that. And who are the people in our movement who are getting the biggest awards? The ones who are also harming fellow activists the most too. So like, just recognize it in all of the spaces. It's not just, it's easy to see it when you're an outsider who's criticizing a thing. It's not easy to see it when you're on the inside and you respect the people. And it's hard. Like, this is your school. And it's hard for people. You're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're like so proud. I go to WSU, this great school where Dolph Lundgren went. And it has this stain. Like, be okay with say, like, I went to UC Davis and I can say, yeah, it's the best vet school in the world, supposedly, but there's a lot of problematic things about it. The Primate Institute, the things that were said to me by livestock professors. There's a lot of problems at UC Davis currently. They're still doing terminal labs at UC Davis, multiple terminal labs where they're anesthetizing cows multiple times before killing them. And that's what I'd love to do. Anybody who's at UC Davis right now, I want to rescue some of those animals who are going to be killed. There's pigs, there's calves who are going to be killed, and we need to do something about that. So,
yeah.
All right, what else should we talk about? I can go through all of the comments on my social media if you want, but whatever you want to do.
There's a couple of side quests that I want to bring to light because I think some of the messages that I've been getting and what I've been hearing from students is that there's still some doubt on whether these horses would have been adoptable or not.
Yeah.
And I want to share like some of the emails proving that is true.
So add this to the stage.
Yeah. So here's an email from here's an email from, I don't know who this person is, someone who, Dr. Chung, he works at WSU and is like one of the principal investigators at the USDA WSU research office. And so he said, "Dear Dory," and that's the dean, "we could not find USDA policy regulating adoption of horses or other farm animals. We also checked with 2 USDA personnels in ARS, Animal Research Service, and APHIS on this question. The only precaution we add is that these animals should not have active infectious diseases when adoption. Please let me know if you need further discussion on this matter." So here's an internal email that the dean shared with me because she was giving me the information openly. I didn't get this through nefarious reasons. This was before my public records request.
Mm-hmm.
So then I asked, this was when I asked, so can we have documentation on whether these horses were infected? She directed me to the people at the USDA who would know which horses were a part of the study. She says, "I know, for example, when I adopted a research beagle, it had to be spayed and vaccinated before adopting out. And I don't think they'd have to undergo any infectious disease testing. And I suspect the USDA has their full vaccine records." Like, I'm not coming up with this information out of nowhere. Yeah. And like the dean, she supports the adoption of research animals. She herself has adopted research animals, a research beagle.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
Oh, here, no worries.
I removed my thing. You can continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to add that.
This was a fun side quest, is that through these communications, I found out the USDA at WSU is ending their horse research later this year. Not totally sure when. Mm-hmm. And they have 11 horses left. 8 of the horses were going to go to this lab. And 3 of the horses, the last 3 horses, were just going to be euthanized because there wasn't enough horses to be used in the lab next year. The dean said the school wasn't going to buy any horses to be used in the lab. They were just using these horses because
there's 11 horses total. So there's another 3 that potentially need a sanctuary.
So actually,
hopefully they haven't been euthanized yet.
They haven't, because someone in the dean's office has already, she or he, I don't know, they have already agreed to adopt those remaining 3 horses. So even if this terminal labs situation didn't go the way that it has gone, these 3 horses were already going to go to.
So there's that proof. These horses can be adopted. Yeah.
Yes. And maybe it's I'm trying to find
We
this
have a
one.
dossier, people. Like, don't question. There's so many documents here that we have.
Okay, this was before things kind of went south for me. The dean sent me an email. This was back in February. I wanted to let you know that the professors have decided to discontinue the equine labs for all the reasons we've discussed. So, because they're not really allowed to buy more horses. The USDA is ending their research, so like their pipeline of horses is running out. So they're going to be looking for additional electives in the senior year to ensure that there's some hands-on work. And this is something that I want to reassure students, because I know students are going to be really, really mad that they are not getting this experience, and they're going to feel really shortchanged. And they are going to be shortchanged this year, because I'm sure these opportunities haven't been put in place yet. But this is proof that they were already starting to look into this for next year. And they want to start revamping some of the fourth year as well, so that they can get more hands-on experience. And this is where she reiterates that a woman in the dean's office will be first in line to adopt those 3 horses that aren't going to be used in the labs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, there's so many things students should be learning instead of enterotomies on horses that are more day one things. Like, how many lameness exams have you done? How many nerve blocks have you done? How many horses have you tubed? How many colicking horses have you tubed? How many IV catheters have you placed? How many joints have you injected? Like, there's just so many things. Like, how many abscesses have you scooped out? How many hooves have you tested? How many shoes have you pulled? How many teeth have you floated? These are all like those day one skills that somebody should have who is a horsey person. So
yeah, and the AEP has their list of they have their list of competencies that students should have.
I just want to like quickly pull up this. I guess I have to take you down to your screen and put mine. So this is the post on Washington State University's page about it. And they again say Washington State University is aware of the concerns and significant public attention surrounding the College of Veterinary Medicine's elective large animal surgery course. Over the past several days, the university has received a high volume of threatening and hostile communications directed towards members of our community. The safety of our students, faculty, staff, and animals is our highest priority. Given the nature of these threats and similar incidents that have occurred at other research universities, WSU has determined that we cannot safely proceed with the equine component of the surgery course this spring and will not move forward with bringing the 8 horses associated with the course to campus. Students will receive full credit for the work already completed in the elective course. Full statement link in bio. I give my comment here, and there's some replies to my comment, including love. And then like somebody said, I hope in the future your team and supporters find a better way to spread your message. Hate and threats to the students who are trying to learn and the staff that support them are by no means a way to further the veterinary industry. And it's got 19 likes, and that's outrageous, implying that my team and supporters would say such things when that is not what we're about. We're about nonviolence, and we do not condone violence in any way towards any species, including humans. And I've been arguing with people on social media who are saying that this sort of ridiculous, threatening language is necessary. And we've seen now the conversation isn't about the horses, it's about the tone and the tactics. And using violent language it hasn't made them more likely to cancel the lab. I think just the public outreach, professional public outreach was enough. The volume of letters that they got was enough. Adding threats to that's doesn't do anything. But, you know, again, I'll say it again. I have received threats from people who are against my support of depopulation using high expansion nitrogen foam and nitrogen gas, animal rights activists saying horrible things to me because I support that as a less cruel method to ventilation shutdown, and people saying I should be against all depopulation. And I'm like, you don't understand the facts. You're being ridiculous. And of course, I've been threatened by the veterinary profession, you know, ostracized from groups, defamed as somebody who spreads lies and misinformation, and who is violent, as is happening right now, which is harmful to my ability to get work and collaborate with others and promote animal protection. So I've been attacked by animal rights activists, by the veterinary profession, and of course by animal rights activists again for voicing concerns about the manipulation and romantic pursuits of men in power. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Beagle Freedom also made a comment. This person, then we get into all of the people who are saying it's such a missed opportunity for the students. There aren't effective alternatives to practicing large animal surgeries than practicing on a large animal. Technology simulations aren't the same at all. And again, we are saying students need live tissue handling experience on patients who need care under the guidance of experienced veterinarians. And right now, people are shooting their animals in the head because they can't afford veterinary care, because there are no veterinarians going out to see them. And Washington State University, as a publicly funded institution, has a duty to meet the needs of their community. And a lot of the vet students have said, people won't let us work on their animals. They are literally, so you're saying they will shoot their animal in the head.
It's not true.
Rather than have students work on their animal? Please.
I think as long as it's framed as, hey, like I've had the opportunity as a vet student to work on people's animals with their full consent, with them knowing that I have, not at WSU necessarily, but and even, you know, I take that back. Even that's not true, because we don't get a ton of experience through the teaching hospital, and I think a lot of students are really frustrated by that. But
that's,
you know,
because your teaching hospital is set up in a certain way, and it hasn't done enough outreach to the community, and it doesn't have these programs that need to be in place. Like if
other schools have,
yeah,
like it's not a new idea.
If your school opened up, hey, we are offering free procedures or at-cost procedures to all members of the community, I guarantee you people would be knocking down your door asking students to do procedures on their animals. There's so many. Oh, and one person wrote, oh, I'm worried about the horses going to sanctuary. We all know, like, they're just going to be pasture ornaments and not going to get veterinary care. Oh, you're worried that sanctuaries don't offer their animals veterinary care. That sounds like a population that the students could be serving.
Yeah.
Like, it's very frustrating. Very smart students have been just indoctrinated into this philosophy. And we've all been there, that we've had this belief, oh, we have the arguments to combat all of the things and to support our own idea. Until you really engage with people on the other side, you're not challenging your ideas, your existing ideas. And I'm so glad that this has given the opportunity to put this on stage, because before, students weren't really engaging with this. They were in their own little bubble. They believed what they believed, and they weren't challenged on their belief. And now this has forced them to see the other side of the argument, that hey, these terminal labs aren't actually necessary and they're being denied good access to stuff. So
Yeah, and I've seen comments from just kind of the general public that have been like, why can't students learn, or why can't students, do procedures on animals who need them? I, have a big complaint right now with WSU is that our large animal and ag animal program is pretty much shut down because we've lost the faculty to support that program. And I don't know where they are in hiring new faculty. But like, I saw a comment where someone had said, I tried to get my animals to go to WSU, and like talking about their large animals. I don't know exactly what species, but like they were denied access to care, and they were frustrated because they wanted care. They would have been happy for students to provide the care. And we're not asking schools to be negligent and just let students go free rein treating animals, without supervision, but there is an opportunity to be helping people who really have no other options, especially when our community has to now go elsewhere. They can't go to WSU to have their goats treated, to have their cows treated, to have their sheep treated, to have their pigs treated. It's not really an option right now for them, but the school is still investing money in. I was told by one, and I don't have in an email, and I don't have the numbers for, but I was told by a faculty member who I was chatting with, who knows a bit about the lab, and said, yeah, this lab is pretty expensive. It's one of the more expensive electives to run because you have to buy the animals, you have to house the animals, you have to feed them. It's a whole thing. It's like, wow, we could probably be spending this money trying to create some of these programs.
Just the anesthesia cost on a horse and the suture material being used and all of the sterile equipment to be used to do surgery on these horses. That's
and the school could at least recoup
lot.
some of those costs by providing these services low cost. And then they could probably get grants and things for these types of programs because they would be performing a community service. So I just want the message that I'm trying to spread to be, I'm not trying to take away your surgical experience. I'm trying to get us all more surgical experience, and surgical experience in that supports our community, that helps animals, and is a little bit less ethically dubious as terminal labs, because we've already drawn the line with dogs and cats. No one thinks we should be doing this on dogs and cats, so I'm not sure where.
Yeah, but there are still some schools that do it on dogs and cats, though. Like North Carolina State University still has a problematic resident training lab that involves dogs. Purdue University does too. They purchase their dogs from Marshall Bioresources. And Montreal, University of Montreal does as well. And a lot of the, what's it called? Oh God, I'm blanking on but the common wet labs that veterinarians do for CE courses in dentistry. If you ever do one of these wet labs and it's a young beagle, those beagles come from Marshall Farms. And you should be demanding that they change the way that they source their animals. I'm just going on Beagle Freedom Project. Beagle Freedom Project has 1 million followers. And I think this was one of the huge reasons why they got such an outpouring of letters, was because of their posts and campaign here. But there's a lot of things. I went on there and I was replying, and I guess Beagle Freedom Project has what's it called? A filter where they don't allow for links, and all of my stuff includes links. So they had to go back and allow some of my posts to be seen. But a lot of people are like, post your sources. Don't send your 1 million followers after a public university unless you have proof that this is happening. Of course, Beagle Freedom Project is a legitimate organization. They are and they're run by attorneys. Like, they're not going to post something defamatory. unless they have proof of it. So, and you can guarantee, like, even PETA, they have a team of attorneys. The stuff that they post is accurate. It might not be framed in a way that you like, but it is there. It all has some proof behind it.
Yeah, and I want to remind people that, it might be costly and very time consuming, and it might take a long time to get the information, but all this information is public record because WSU and all of the other universities that we were talking about, except for the private ones, they are public institutions. And so you can get these emails, they might be redacted so they don't have my name or other students' names or, trying to protect people, but nothing that I've shared is a secret that shouldn't be shared. Everything that I've shared, the emails that I've shared, I have only shared things that could be accessed that either have my name on them and I'm willingly sharing that information, or could be accessed through public record. I haven't shared the emails that I've gotten. I haven't publicly shared the emails from other students. I don't want
we would never
other
do that.
students' information out there. I haven't gotten the Discord. I haven't shared the Discord messages that where people are talking bad about me. I haven't shared those publicly. Like, I'm not trying to defend myself against these things. I'm not trying to, and I'm definitely not trying to attack any individual. If you have been listening for the last hour, like, I'm really defensive of the dean. I think that, I have a lot of empathy for the situation that she's been in. And part of the reason she's in this situation is because she's been so forthcoming and cooperative and, like, professional and willing to talk about this. And she really does care about animal welfare, and she really does care about the students and trying to make our curriculum better. And so that's why I just keep coming back to, I really hope that the school is blowing it out of proportion, that there's harassment and threats. I wouldn't put it past some people to be unthoughtful and send messages like that. And I just want to make it clear and reiterate that we are so against that, because we both know what it feels like to be retaliated against, to be called liars when we have all the evidence, to be said, you need to find the evidence. You don't know what you're talking about. And
so frustrating.
Like, you are the evidence. And so, I can't
even after I
enough.
published my paper in the Journal of Veterinary Medical Education, people called my paper full of false information. And I'm like, take it up with the editors of the journal. What can I tell you? Like, this is peer reviewed, and it went through a huge peer review process, very in depth. So, like, it's so frustrating to see this. Here's one person says, well, medical research on live animals can be performed humanely or can be cruel. Vet schools do use animals for teaching veterinary curriculum, diseases, and injury research, the results of which we with pets all appreciate when our own animals are saved. I'd like to know where the Beagle Freedom Project would intend to hold 8 horses and 60 goats in a sanctuary. Well, we have one. To my knowledge, finding safe, lifelong sanctuary space for so many horses and goats is challenging. No, not really. But I mean, if this was done at scale, but like, since this is such a huge story, there's lots of sanctuaries who want to be a part of it and want to take these animals and who've reached out to us. So it's really not a problem to find. Unfortunately, it sounds like the goats are already gone. But
and I did want to bring that up. I think what has been frustrating, and I'm sorry I keep using that word, but I am frustrated about a lot of parts of this situation, is that in my early conversations about terminal labs, I first brought them up only knowing that the goat labs existed, and was kind of like, been like, oh, you animal lover, you don't understand how important these labs are, and these goats were going to go to slaughter anyway, so it's totally okay. And it is an interesting, like, ethical question of well, these goats were going to go to slaughter, it probably is a nicer time for them to be at WSU for, the weeks before. But what really got to me is that no one really seemed to, people were against the idea of terminal labs in general, but people could kind of reason their way out of caring about the goat labs because they were going to go to slaughter anyway.
Yeah.
And even when I brought it up to the administration at that time, it was kind of like, well, they were going to go to slaughter anyway. What do you want us to do about it? And it wasn't until I found out about the horses that I think that even the dean cared. Like, she's a horse lover. Like, she has beautiful photos of horses in her office. She kind of opened my eyes, like, dang, people are really only going to care about this issue. And like, it kind of started dwindling in our correspondence, where I just started focusing on the horses. And that's also what happened, like, on social media. It all became about the horses. And I just want to remind people, there were 60 goats, and they have all been used in the labs. The goat portion of the terminal labs has ended.
Yeah.
And the goats' lives has ended with them. And so we need to make sure that the school commits to not using goats in the future also, and not using any animals in terminal labs in the future. And it's frustrating that you only care about certain species. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's weird too, because now, okay, even if they say those 60 goats, we won't do the goat lab either. Well, they're still goats being slaughtered. Like, yeah, but when you're a student and you have an animal that is your patient, now you're morally responsible for them. And if a goat who was intended for slaughter crossed my path, I'd be like, I want to make sure this goat gets to a sanctuary. Like, this goat has entered my sphere of concern. I have a moral responsibility to make sure that they're going to be okay. It's just like you are driving down the street, and you see a dog run across the street, and you go, well, okay, now I got to stop and make sure that that dog's going to be okay. Sure, there's millions of dogs who are homeless and in streets everywhere, but now this dog in front of me is my responsibility. And you're putting students in that situation where, like, now this is their responsibility. They're either going to have to morally disengage from this, which is a harmful thing for them to experience. This causes moral distress. You're putting them in a position that is causing moral distress. Either they obey the institution, the hierarchy, and go along with the flow to gain the surgical experience, and they morally disengage to do that, or they're going to go through everything you're going through to try to save that goat who has entered their sphere. They're going to be a stronger person and a better person after it, but they're also their colleagues who do morally disengage they're going to suffer. Like, it causes a ripple effect, because your colleagues now are viewing you as a bad person through do-gooder derogation that is happening. That's harming their ability and how they view the world. They're not acting necessarily courageously, because the institutional pressure and the culture says this incentivizes them to behave in a certain way. And so you're challenging that. And unless some will see the light and be like, oh, now I see what's happening here, and they'll join us, but others won't. And I want to extend love and empathy to them, and hope that they see this harmful this harmful pattern, this culture, what medical culture is doing, how they're being manipulated and coerced into betraying their conscience, and get them to think about all of the ways that they're being manipulated. It's ultimately a good thing whenever anybody consciously objects and follows their conscience, and there will be challenges, but as long as the school policy exists, this is what they're putting in front of students. They're creating a world where they're incentivized to morally disengage and betray their conscience, and they're punished for following their conscience. And that's not what an institution should be doing. So.
Yeah. And, I haven't gotten in trouble. I haven't, I do want to say, like, I haven't faced like official retaliation from the school. Like, they haven't threatened to kick me out or anything like that. But it's
the icing out is real.
Yeah.
There's just I can feel the knots in your stomach. I don't know, of having emails written about you by the dean. Like,
yeah, and
even she doesn't mention your name, but everybody knows who she's talking about.
Yeah, I've been mentioned twice. The first time was just so the third year students, class of 2027, knows about this. But I had asked the dean multiple times, like, hey, now that we know that the horses could have been adopted, and I have friends who have taken this course in the past, and they felt okay about the terminal labs because of, the reasoning that the goats would have gone to slaughter and that the horses were going to be euthanized anyway, because that's what they thought the USDA was requiring. It just seemed like a totally different choice that students had to make of, oh, actually, these horses don't have to be euthanized. And I felt like the school had a moral obligation to inform students that, and they didn't, not even to make a big deal about it, just to be like, hey, for full transparency's sake, we recently learned that these horses, we used to believe that they had to be euthanized because of USDA policy. We just learned that policy doesn't exist. And we just want you to know so you have all the information before going in. That was kind of all I was asking for. Mm-hmm. And again, it was one of those situations like when I was asking if the horses were infected, where that question just kept not getting answered. And so we would talk about something else in the email, some other point. And then I'd circle back and be like, but are you going to tell the students? Mm. And so, I gave it a few days. Mm-hmm. I remember telling you this and, being like, we'll just hang on. I'll give her till Monday. Okay. I'll give her till Tuesday to get back to me or to say something to the students. And then I ended up sending an email to the third year students. And if I could have only sent it to the students in the lab, I would have, but I didn't have that class list. So I sent it to the whole third year class because I had that class list. And I said in the email that and you can share this if you want, but I basically said that I am sharing some information that you have a right to know before participating in the upcoming equine labs. And I explained that for years there'd been an assumption that they had to be euthanized, but that this information wasn't accurate and it wasn't founded in any USDA or WSU policy. And I said the WSU administration, and I specifically didn't say the dean because I didn't want to throw her under the bus, because we had up until this point had a really good working relationship and I have a lot of respect for her. And so I said the WSU administration has confirmed in writing that they were not infected and would have been eligible for adoption. And I quoted this, and I go on to explain some other things that we talked about earlier in the hour, like how the Iacocca protocol, justifies these terminal labs because they were purchased from animals that would be sent to slaughter. And, kind of in like, my legal brain wants to say, oh, they left out the justification for the horses. Maybe we can use this, maybe we can get them out on a technicality sort of thing.
And we also discussed this with the Society of Veterinary Medical Ethics.
Yeah.
And
this wasn't out of nowhere.
A bunch of veterinarians chimed in and was like, oh, I looked at the IACA protocol and this is problematic, where they say these horses came from slaughter. And so this lab should absolutely be put on hold until they figure this out and get IACA to approve it again. So like we had discussions not only amongst ourselves, but with numerous other veterinarians who are professors at universities and who
veterinary ethicists.
Yeah, this is not like we had done a lot of work here before you sent out this email.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyway, so, and it was explicit. I'm like, I'm not telling you to not do the surgery. I just want you to be fully aware in case this changes like your calculus. Because I was thinking about my friend who had confided in me and said that she wouldn't have taken the lab if she had known that there were horses in it. And I'm sure there are other students who feel that way. And there are students who only felt justified in doing it because of, these assumptions about euthanasia and slaughter. And
so many colleagues who say I did terminal labs and I used to think it was important and necessary. And now I realize I was wrong. It wasn't. I did not learn anything from it. And it haunts me to this day that I participated in that. And it's like, you have to forgive yourself for doing things that you regret, because we can only act with the information that we have before us in our life experience. So, but try to be open-minded going forward and don't stick to justifying things when all of the evidence you learn after that shows you like it's not necessary. And I think we're really like, there are some vets who are like, I absolutely regret participating in terminal labs. I wish I was a conscientious objector. I knew it was wrong at the time and I just didn't have the guts to conscientiously object. And that makes me feel bad about myself.
I mean, there's stuff that I've done in the first couple of years that I think back to my very first year. We had a large animal handling lab where we had sheep and we were like electroejaculating these rams. And it was like the beginning. And like I said earlier, I was really worried about just proving that to be taken seriously as
you don't want to be some sissy vegan who is just queasy and wimpy and
and so like I helped restrain these sheep, helped put them in the squeeze tip table, and I was like thinking about it and I was like trying to I was just like, man, because there were some classmates who were like, I don't want any part of this, and they just like stood in the back, and I kind of wanted to prove myself as like, I am mixed animal. I don't like the way these animals are being treated, but I want to prove that I can like participate in like these kinds of activities. And I totally regret it. I regret not speaking up then and raising concerns of like, I did not think that handling was compassionate or appropriate. And I had looked into some of the animal testing that goes on at Utah State University, because that's where I did my first 2 years of vet school. And I wish that back then I had said more and done more. And even with the horse labs, I wish that I had pushed the USDA policy issue last year, because maybe this whole thing wouldn't have blown up. And, we could have, like the dean said, done something about it had we known about it sooner. And it's like, I empathize with people who have
my
regret.
UC Davis undergrad. I chopped off the tail of a sheep, a lamb, with a hot blade as part of one of my labs. And it was very much the same thing. It was like, I'm proving myself as a mixed animal person. I'm not some wimpy, like I wasn't vegan at the time, but you know, I was kind of more, I was vegetarian, and I did want to be like, kind of prove myself. And I regret that. I should have asked more, like, are these animals given any anesthesia or like any pain control? And there was another lab that I did that was, we had to do castrations and vasectomies on mice and then euthanize them afterwards. And I think this was like a mandatory class that I had to take in order to be accepted into vet school. And
Wow.
a couple of people in my class, one person who was absolutely not an animal rights activist by any means, was the most vocally outspoken about this practice. And I kind of rode her coattails a little bit, sent a letter, but then I was so worried about getting on the radar. This was like right before I was applying to vet school, that I like sent the email. They responded back, hey, can you tell me more about this? And then I'm like, I didn't respond. And then I saw those emails just recently, searching through my inbox, and replied to them like, hey, it's however many years later, wondering if
You're like,
back in 2008, actually, God, yeah, more than 15 years later, we had this lab, and I was voicing concern. Like, I had like more academic reasons for objecting, like the anesthesia protocol doesn't seem well, like these animals are suffering afterwards, and a large number of them died, and some of them are crawling across the table with their insides hanging out, and they're like, oh yeah, so we ended up changing the anesthesia protocol to something that I would have wanted better. And I'm like, now I want to be like, now you need to not have this lab anymore. Like, this is not, IACUC should not approve this lab, because literally the only thing that we're doing this for is to show ourselves that castrated mice, their accessory sex organs are smaller than vasectomized mice, because vasectomized mice still have testosterone flowing, so their accessory sex organs are the same size.
It's like, how
We
many
do not
papers
need to-
exist proving that?
We just need to prove this to ourselves, or prove that what we read in the science books is real. Like, this seems not a good use of mice lives.
And I think that brings up a really good point of, like, honestly, none of these courses and none of these terminal labs would happen. And people like the dean and students who object, or students who support, none of these people would be forced to make these decisions if IACUC actually did what it says it does. If IACUC actually followed the 3 R's and was really looking at ways to reduce animal models, and if they were trying to really eliminate redundancies, I know that's one of the justifications you have to do in an IACUC protocol. I mean, I can pull up the IACUC protocol and we can go through like what they had to do. And if they really did what they say they have to do, these things wouldn't get approved, and then they wouldn't be anybody's problem. But
I don't know if you want to pull that up, but
maybe let me pull that up. But let me
so there's a big problem
finish this
even
point.
in human medicine. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
We're just talking over. Just before I leave this, because I think people are wondering, like, how did it get to the point of there being campaigns? And so I was talking about, I sent this email to the 3rd-year students, and then the dean replied, and I had quoted her email that she sent to me, where she had said they were not infected and they would have been eligible for adoption. And then in her email to all the 3rd-year students, she said the quote provided by Larea is neither relevant or correct for the situation. And and she said social media doesn't dictate curricular decisions. And this is kind of when, this was the last I've heard from her, honestly. I was like pretty gutted when I read this, because I included a quote from an email that she had sent me, and she didn't acknowledge that the horses could have been adopted, and now everyone thinks I'm a liar. And that's when I was like, I have done I have been quelling the public facing campaigns. I told you,
I've been chomping at the bit.
I have been silencing Crystal.
This is not my first rodeo. Lorea's got to learn her lesson.
I have been, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do this the right way. You know, the way that all the people here tell you to do it. Go through the appropriate channels. Be professional, like show your evidence, be logical, be evidence-based. Don't rely on people's emotional feelings and reactions to things. And I really believed that, honestly, until this email was sent. I believed that was the way to go about change.
Yeah.
And I've always been such a pacifist, like just pretty quiet, by the book, kind of like, I'm just trying to make everyone happy and like be very
you're like
bridge
the most
across the aisle, and it just hurt, honestly, so
you're
much.
just a rare person of like, you're the perfect person to do this because you're so balanced and grounded and empathetic and like studious and smart, and you don't come across as anybody who would be dishonest or overly emotional or anything like that. And to have the dean say that about you, and I read other emails and I'm like,
it's coming.
I'm a little worried. Like I'm like, I've seen this pattern before. I know.
You're like,
next.
oh, poor Lorea, she's so naive.
Oh yeah, no, we all gotta be.
What a sweet innocent child.
You have to be slapped in the face before you can believe that somebody you trust, like, and I honestly don't know if she even recognizes that this is not acting in good faith, or if she has her own circle of influence and is just, we've had our conversations.
She has to answer to.
And it's she decided that this is a good way to respond to this, and maybe it came out of a little bit of an emotion and feeling, who knows, attacked or whatever, little defensiveness. But again, we totally respect the dean, and we realized she was put in a hard position, but that was not good to do to your student, to like, and not empathizing with the social professional backlash she would face for having the dean say something like that about her. And you can say like, oh, well, you were added, you were the person who was being attacked. It wasn't like some fourth year student, like her other emails said. Like,
and this wasn't to the whole school. This was to the entire class of 2027, the class below me. And I mean, she did, in another email, she did admit, there was an email that was sent out about, like, there's some animal rights organizations getting involved.
Again, framing it as, well, and it was a veterinary issue. She got multiple emails from our honor veterinarians first. She knew that this was a veterinary thing, and then framed it as an animal rights thing once the animal rights
and that's the thing, is like, no other groups got involved until that email, until she responded that way. And that's when I was like, I don't know what else to do. And I even had told her in the past. And I had told the dean in the past, like, I feel compelled to write an op-ed, and I just want you to know ahead of time. And she never said don't do it, or she never addressed it. And I never had an op-ed published about this because no one was really interested in the story. And I wasn't trying to write, probably because I wasn't trying to write it in a way to be super inflammatory. And, I had submitted it to local papers, local Washington papers. And
the media wants drama and hard opinions. And so
yeah, so then you and I co-authored a press release, and then
Mhm.
that's when it got picked up. That's when Beagle Freedom Project saw it, and they picked it up, and they reached out because they wanted the facts, and I shared what I'm sharing now so that they were acting from a place based in evidence. And they sent their posts, and then other organizations picked it up, and I can't control what other people are seeing and what other organizations are picking up. I didn't reach out to PETA. It's once it got to that level of there were multiple campaigns, it's I can't control that. And I you know
Yeah.
I just want people who see those campaigns to act kindly and compassionately. But yeah, the dean did eventually send out an email saying, why is this getting such big attention? And she did say that it was because a fourth year student um, had basically made them realize that this USDA policy didn't exist. And so I appreciate that she kind of vindicated me a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to reach out to her. I don't know if I should, because I don't have an interest in like defending myself, but I just kind of want to be like, hey, I'm sorry this is like put you in a tough position. Like this isn't, we got an outcome that we want, but this isn't the way that I necessarily wanted it to go down. I wanted it to come from the school because they thought it was the right thing to do, not because they felt pressured to do it.
Yeah. I don't know the right answer. I'd say just follow your conscience. And do what you think is right. So yeah, and I'm super thankful to the great work of the Beagle Freedom Project for amplifying this work. They do great work, and everybody should support them. And it's disappointing in that it's framed as this like animal rights thing. But again, it's just the thing. The veterinary profession needs to understand the role that these so-called animal rights groups play. And they are not groups that are I don't know. I don't even know what to say, but like, look at throughout history, look at all of the things that they've done, and they've always been on the right side of things. And veterinarians, we've always lagged behind, and we always sort of frame what these groups do as harming animal welfare. But like, what are your examples of that? You always kind of say that like, oh, if we do that, that's ultimately gonna harm animal welfare. And maybe there's some examples of like the no kill campaigns and stuff like that. And then it became about the metrics and of animal shelters, and more animals ended up languishing in cages, which obviously isn't good, and fewer animals got care and all of that. But
and I think because the word sanctuary isn't a protected word, I think a lot of this would, if the word sanctuary had some like political or like legal meaning behind it, that would be helpful, because there are places that call themselves sanctuaries that are just glorified hoarding situations, or they're just saying sanctuary, but they're purchasing animals from auction and then exploiting them for profit. There's a lot of ways to use the word sanctuary. And what I hear in vet school all the time, I mean, I just heard an example of it today of, people bringing up an example of abuse that happened at a place that calls themselves a sanctuary, and using it to paint sanctuaries in a negative light. And I've been hearing, a friend of mine had been hearing conversations about this. I've been off campus for the last few weeks because I've been doing rotations off campus. And he was hearing conversations, and he said that some of the issues that people were bringing up is they were concerned that these horses were going to go to one of those types of sanctuaries. Like, are we really doing our due diligence to make sure they're going to accredited or highly reputable sanctuaries where they are going to be permanent residents and aren't going to have to be shuffled around or kept in hoarding situations? And yes, absolutely, we are going to do our due diligence and make sure that these animals go to an actual sanctuary that is not going to exploit them, that is going to provide them with shelter, food, veterinary care, and a life worth living.
Yeah. And you better believe, like, this story is huge to me now, and I'm going to be visiting those horses all the time.
Yes,
and taking
absolutely.
photos, and like, yeah, especially if they go to Apple Valley, because that's not too far from me. So I will, totally want to visit them all of the time. I just want to pull up some of these comments some more, because I think it's important to respond to some of these common questions. And so thankful, again, this is on the Beagle Freedom Project's post, which got a ton of attention. And this person says, are these rideable horses who will be offered sufficient retraining to be adopted out into a safe forever homes? And my understanding, I think, I don't know how old they are. We know nothing about these horses. And I think sanctuaries agreed to take them just thinking that maybe these horses would not be rideable and they just live out in pasture. Are they senior or unsound horses? We are told they're healthy horses who'd be thrown away alive to neglect, abandonment, auction, feedlots. No, you think we're going to let that happen? Absolutely not. In which case, euthanasia is much kinder. This post is lacking quite a bit of information. The way this post is written entices strong knee-jerk reactions without details or reading between the lines. And believe you me, I have posted so many detailed posts on my Substack, my Twitter. Nobody reads nuanced arguments. They generally don't go viral. So
or
you have
many op-eds about this, sharing
like,
my experience, the amount of like links and sources that I have, and oh my goodness, no one was interested.
Yeah. And so this is why a group like the Beagle Freedom Project is so successful, is because they can make a post that people will engage with. And now we're having the conversation in the comment section, and people can get the information that they need. And that's what I've provided. Here, some context, which anybody who reads the comments will get, which 9 out of 10 sends a horse from the frying pan into the fire of poor care, neglect, or worse. And I would just say, what happens to animals on most industrial operations is far worse than what happens at a sanctuary, just by the sheer numbers of animals that are in industrial settings. So even the worst sanctuary, we're talking about a place that is out in the open. Anybody can see it. And if you don't like it, you can call animal control on them and have them prosecuted. You can't do that with most commercial industrial operations. Like I have seen, like I have documented dairies where there is rampant lame animals, animals who are malnourished, dairymen hitting the animals, poor hygiene, all of these things, carcasses laying out in violation of California laws. And I file complaints and nothing gets done, and they put up a privacy fence. And the fact that we're talking about all of the harms that sanctuaries cause and not, as a veterinary profession, addressing that is another example of how we nitpick any animal rights group that says maybe something a little bit inflammatory in tone, and we don't address the manipulation of commercial operations and the advertising and all of that stuff. So,
and if you want to address, sanctuary and sheltering issues, you should check out my friend Lauren Cabrera's account, Boonie Flight Project, because she has a campaign going right now about.
I don't know if we can show her stuff, but we should definitely highlight her work.
Yeah, about trying to improve the lives of animals who are in shelter on Saipan, and she's trying to address some of the issues because the shelter there is overwhelmed and inundated with the number of animals that they are charged to care for, and that has led to some serious neglect issues. And so if you're really passionate about improving the lives of animals in sanctuaries and in shelters, you should check out her work, support her campaigns. We're not saying these issues don't happen, but just look around and you can get involved in so many projects like this. So
here's Boonie Flight Project. I want to go to Saipan and help them out for sure. They're doing good work for the animals.
So that fourth one, the Reform the Saipan Shelter System. Sign that petition. That's an example of
this is so horrifying. Look at those
sheltering that has sheltering gone wrong. And want to reiterate to not attack the people, because they are trying to do their best, but we should be funneling this type of outrage that people are experiencing and trying to defend terminal labs. If you want terminal labs to continue and you're really mad, and you want surgical experience, go volunteer somewhere like this, and you're going to get more experience than you could have ever gotten in a terminal lab.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad what's happening there.
Yeah. So anyway, let's keep reading more comments.
Okay. Let me remove that here for a second.
Because people are concerned, so we might as well share the information, clarify things, because people are concerned that we haven't, been upfront or aren't clarifying or being detailed enough.
Let me actually see if there's any new comments on the Washington Post thing, or the Washington State page. Let's see. Where can I find that? Hold on. WSU. Hold on. VetMed. Okay, let me take this down. Sorry for the dead air. I can't talk and do things at the same time.
I'm just taking a break from talking because I feel like I've just been rambling forever. And I just want to thank everyone who's watching. It means a lot, and I hope it helps get you the information that you're seeking. And really appreciate your support and interest in this topic.
Maddie Fries has 23 likes on our comment, implying that I am spreading hate and violence. I only got 1 like in my reply. Womp womp. Dr. Heath, well, unfortunately, that strongly held value wasn't demonstrated in this situation. Okay, I don't know. I don't have control over. Okay, and here's the thing. The public, members of the public, of course, the most online psychopathic members of the public will use any situation to spread violence and hate. And this is why it's always like, we don't want to get the public involved unless absolutely necessary. And that's why we try to manage these things among veterinarians. But when that doesn't work, you have to, and we can say on all of the campaign materials, non-violence, be professional. And we can go on my Twitter and see me arguing with people who are like, violence is the only way. And I'm like, no, it's not. Literally, this is what is always used by those in power to maintain their power. Violence, threats, bullying, retaliation. And as long as we allow that to be a tool, that's what will be used. And the only way to combat that is to say no. Violence is definitely not the option. So yeah, this person says, such a missed opportunity for the students. There aren't effective alternatives to practicing large animal surgeries than practicing on a large animal. And of course, we already addressed that.
On animals we need, and we're not trying to say, and I think that's the biggest misconception, is that we're saying, you know, let's, and I get it, because I know people at European vet schools. I know one of our professors who is from Europe. She said one of the reasons she wanted to work at a American vet school is because in Europe, they're not really allowed to touch animals, you know, and during vet school, and they have to get a lot of their hands-on training post-grad. And if you're from Europe, please correct me and chime in. But I'm not saying that we need to go and never touch an animal in vet school, never do,
or like we're only
vet school. We're just going to do models and simulations.
Yeah, no.
You do models and simulations to get to a point of proficiency, and then under the guidance of experienced surgeons, you do surgery. I was doing surgery my second year of vet school because we had a great first year principles of surgery course where we had models, simulations, and then I took time out of my own schedule, went to the shelter, and had an amazing mentor there who was willing to teach me. And she taught me my first cat spay. She was letting me do dog neuters. I had gotten to the point of being proficient where I didn't, you know, need her like standing over me, you know, to do dog neuters. And I was a second year vet student. And it's because I had the appropriate training beforehand. And now I have done, you know, around 50 surgeries. I've done castrations on horses, on rabbits, on cats, on dogs. It's, and I've spayed all of those animals, not horses, obviously, but,
but there's lots, like there are so many dairy cows and goats and sheep out there and pigs who need C-sections.
The WSU has a dairy. Are students going out there to that dairy? I mean, they probably are in other courses, but they aren't, you know, it's like,
yeah. And I almost think like there's almost a thing where they want to create some sort of filtering process. They don't want all the small animals focused students to go onto these farms and see how it looks. I don't know if you get, that was the vibe at UC Davis. You had to prove yourself if you were going to get a preceptorship at a livestock facility. You had to prove that you would we would play ball basically.
I don't know. My preceptorship was at a mixed animal practice. But you know, the people who are in charge of our schedules are not the people in charge of our coursework. And so they don't really necessarily know that whole dynamic, to be honest. So, yeah. And then there's just a lot of self-selecting that goes into it, because
I think that's the most just feeling comfortable at certain places. And it's hard to be like, I'm going to be the animal rights activist who's uncomfortable and I'm going to do livestock. And
there's a lot of code switching that has to happen. And luckily I was well practiced, because you know, the first time I experienced this kind of dichotomy where I was kind of confused, I was like, oh, I thought we liked animals, but we have I'm really confused. Was when I was a wildlife biologist, and before vet school, my dream was to be a carnivore conservationist, want to save the tigers and all that. And I ended up on a wolf project, and was really surprised that a lot of the researchers were like hunters and trappers. And but I'm coming from more of like a conservation, like save the animals kind of viewpoint, and realize like like the code switching that has to go on to be accepted by the group. And one of those is whether you say the word coyote or you say coyote. And if you say coyote, you're a hippie environmentalist. If you say coyote, you're a hunter, and we'll accept you into the group. And I feel like vet med is very much the same. And I'm very grateful I was already pre-socially trained on recognizing those nuances in just language or style of speaking that makes it easier to blend in these kind of situations.
And can you imagine being a non-native English speaker and navigating that? And that's the white supremacy of the veterinary profession right there. Like you're a white woman from Utah, so you're good at this. Other people from the global South, or just you're going to feel a lot less welcome. That's for sure. But we're here to support you. And you can vent to us. Like, we understand. Me saying in the various veterinary groups, hey, our profession's really white supremacist, I get attacked. No, it's not. I'm like, why are you so defensive then? Like, if I just said like your hair's purple, and you'd be like, oh, okay, like you're crazy if it wasn't true. But the fact that you're like just like saying like to somebody, how's that cult you're in? And then if you go, it's not a cult, why so defensive?
And I actually, on the topic of like, we support you, and we like, please reach out to us, and reach out to me, reach out to Crystal, reach out to Our Honor. And I also want to make it clear that if you confide in us, like an ethical issue at your vet school, or that you're experiencing retaliation, we're not going to go public with it. We're not going to share your story without your express permission. Because I also kind of get that from people of like, oh, well, I don't want to tell people who are outspoken because they're going to out me and make me go through this like social turmoil that comes along with it. And just to reassure you that
I keep a lot of secrets.
And we both have experienced the social ostracization that comes with being outspoken. And neither of us wish that on anybody. We don't want anyone else to have to experience that. And if you're in a situation where you're going to experience that, like, we're not going to put you in that situation, because it sucks. It really does.
Yeah. Believe me, we understand what you're going through. I also, if you tell me to like, you're trying to go through the right channels, I will let you be slapped in the face by that not working.
I can attest to that. Crystal never dissuaded me and was like, no, I think we should go. She was never like, no, I'm not going to take that video down, or I'm not going to say anything. She was just like, okay.
I'm not going to.
I'm going to support you.
Like, sometimes I wish my mom, I definitely wish my mom would have told me, like, that guy you were dating is not is an alcoholic or whatever. Like, maybe I should have been more like, I'm telling you, Lorraine, it's not going to work.
But I also don't like, have you ever tried to tell someone that the guy that they're dating is like bad news? If you do, then you just lose that friendship.
Believe, like, I don't know. I wish people told me.
For sure.
But I did not believe people about one particular person, because he's a vegan, and he how could he possibly be bad? Those ones are the worst. So anyway, but yeah, like I won't coerce you. I'll be like, okay, unless you are like, be honest with me or like, tell me what you really think or whatever.
Tell me what you
whatever.
actually. I want to hear it. And I
Would have
might
said that.
say what I want, but
But I don't know like I kind of trusted you, Lorraine. Like you were so good at being professional. I was being like, she's got this. She doesn't need my help.
yeah.
But yeah,
You would
you
think,
proved me even more that playing nice and professional doesn't work.
yeah.
Like, because you did it so
I
well.
did it. I have the receipts of
Mhm.
if there's one thing I can do, it's write a good email that doesn't
Mhm.
enrage people. Or I try. I really do try. It's the elementary
But
school
the
teacher in
saying,
me.
violence doesn't work either. That's not a
No, it
tool
doesn't.
that
No.
should be wielded, because that's always wielded more effectively by those with power than those without it. And we are here to take away that tool from people.
Yes.
Take away bullying, take away like psychological harming others. Like anybody who wields that, everybody should instantly know, oh, that's a bad person. And I've said that on my Twitter. People who are like, say, I'm going to go on there and say this. And I'm like, oh, you're a bully. You're a bad person. You're coming across as a psychopath. Nobody should trust what you're saying then. And I'm going to block. I don't block anybody actually, but because I just let what they say show in my response to them. But yeah,
And I think there needs to be more of that in the animal rights and in the vegan and in any movement, honestly, because that's what gets people to feel like they can discredit a movement or a community. And it's really upsetting because the people who ultimately end up getting harmed are the ones who were speaking out in the first place. And talking this through definitely makes me feel better, but I'm sure that when I get up in the morning and I have to go back to campus tomorrow, I'm going to be filled with dread because the messaging that is being put out there is that this is happening because animal rights activists have made this an unsafe space for students. We're protecting the students. And I've been public about that. I am that fourth year student in that email. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little worried. I do trust my colleagues to treat me with respect to my face, most of the time. And I'm not really worried for my safety, but it's not that fun walking around worrying about those types of things. Even if you can kind of logic your way out of it.
It's a wasted psychological energy having to deal with that. But that's the world we live in. That's the fight. Let's see what else it says here. It's sad as being here is such a missed opportunity for the students, blah, blah, blah. While I am glad the decision was made to cancel this portion of lab, I'm not happy that it came as a result of threats. Neither are we. From anonymous individuals who feel it's okay to hide their vile behavior behind the internet.
I agree
exactly.
With that. I agree with that.
I'm hopeful you will find another solution to providing this necessary curriculum, one that does not do unnecessary harm to living, breathing.
Who is this person?
Creatures.
Yes, everything that they're saying, I love.
I don't know if we don't need to put their social media on blast. Why did I do that? But yeah.
I just thank you for saying that, because that's our message that we're trying to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see. Let's go back to Beagle Freedom Project post, because there's so many comments on there we can respond to. Share screen. And I don't mean to keep you on forever either. So we can. I do have to pee at some point, but
yeah.
I held it for 4 hours while I was being arrested, so it's fine.
Okay, yeah, like go back to that one real quick. The like, please stop, shame on you. Like, we don't need to be shaming anybody.
Where's
Like,
am I on the right page? Please.
yeah, no, scroll up one
Oh,
more.
let's look at some of the bad
In
comments.
caps.
Okay.
Please
Yeah,
stop. No
please
reason
stop.
to kill healthy animals. Shame on your school. Like,
Mm.
that's not helpful.
This is not persuasive dialogue and discourse. Imagine
You're just
if
all
you
capsing angry. Like, this is what someone unhinged is like in real life.
Yeah.
Someone who's just screaming, and it's not based in. And this is where I totally get it when people are like, we need to have arguments based in logic and evidence and reasoning. I agree. This
Yeah.
kind of comment, not helpful.
Not helpful at all. Like this is where I'm thankful for large language models. Like, hey, ask, give me a science-based comment for why we should end terminal labs. And then comment that information on the Beagle Freedom Project's post in order to help amplify it. This comment,
or ask a friend, does this comment sound unhinged? And actually, that is something that I did.
this person probably
shared
has no
my
friends.
email with the Society for Veterinary Medical Ethics.
Yeah.
And after the dean was like, this comment, this quote is incorrect, and, basically insinuating that I was lying, I sent the email that I had sent to the third year students and this response to the Society for Veterinary Medical Ethics. And I literally asked, where did I go wrong here? I feel like I've done something wrong. And I had veterinary professionals review it because I was just like, oh my gosh, am I in the, like, you need to do that before you post a comment.
We need, if only your school had some sort of HR or like, this is where I feel like sometimes there's, you grow up and you become a professional and you realize there's no adults in the room. And there's nobody there's nobody stepping in and interviewing when, and it's a kind of a disturbing place to be sometimes. Like, oh, there's nobody except we do have the Society of Veterinary Medical Ethics, but they're not going to talk to the dean on you and say like, hey, like that was a bad move, bro. Like to send that email to the whole class, kind of painting this fourth year student as somebody who's spreading lies. So, but also let's admit, like some of these comments on this post are not good. This is outrageous. And how do we, maybe, I don't know if we should spend more time educating advocates.
Yeah.
Or educate, but this is, I mean, people still spank their kids, and that's the world we live in. And this is how people respond to things. This is outrageous. And I remember being yelled at as a kid by my parents. Like, that's just, I wasn't like some raucous boy who's like obnoxious. I was very like shy, meek kid. And, my dad thinking that the way to teach me is by yelling, but that's, people grow up like that. It's not good. And so that's how they interact with the world. This is yelling and stuff.
Yeah. What's that one that said cruelty at its, what does that say? Cruelty at its finest. Is that what it says?
Oh, cruelty at its finest. Yeah.
I do, cruelty is a legal definition, and I do want to say this does not constitute animal cruelty. And
yeah, and this is kind of like one of the barriers to change is it's easier to get an IACUC protocol accepted if you just kill the animals after and they don't experience any pain than it is to like do a lab where animals are treated and you have to manage their pain afterwards and like explain, hey, yeah, these animals do go through pain. But I think, and it's almost just a cultural thing. I think maybe a lot of people sitting on IACUC committees would be like, why are we having students do that when these animals might be in pain afterwards? Let's just do a terminal lab instead. A lot of people might just have that philosophy because they haven't been presented with the facts and they haven't really engaged in this discussion. And if vegans and animal rights activists aren't putting themselves out there applying to sit on ICOOC committees, they're not going to be part of the conversation.
Yes. And yeah. WSU College of Veterinarians, veterinary medicine, you absolute cowards. Again, character assassination, not helpful here. Like, I understand why the school is like, we don't like these comments. They're unhinged. And I don't even know what the emails that they're getting. If this is what people are posting in public, like I can imagine that what they're getting in private is abhorrent. And it's really disappointing. And I hope everyone who's commented in the comment section like this is watching this live stream and knows that we don't think this is effective. And we just hope that you can bring about some evidence and
and I wonder what some
decorum. I don't know, just regular
I wonder what some of these people like do for work, you know, like, because like I'm very careful about what I post online, and I also have a certain sense of humor, and like a lot of my older posts, I was mostly just making myself laugh. And now I've gotten like, I have a lot of followers and stuff, and I feel like I can't be as funny as I used to be and post the funny memes and stuff that I used to be, because like I'm a professional, and I'm worried, and I don't want some of my patients, humans, to see some of my humorous posts and not get it. And that's what I used to have my little group of friends who'd all get my humor, and then it would go spread wide and like people wouldn't get it. And that's a nightmare. So now I don't post funny shit anymore.
I can't even be sarcastic in real life because I don't know. It does. Apparently, it doesn't look good on me. So I'm just, but we have our group chat. So our group of 2.
I feel there's a couple. I don't know. Maybe I should start a bigger group chat. If you find me funny and you want to be part of our group chat, let me know. I'm looking for people who find me funny and who get my sense of humor and will not be offended. Because I need an outlet. Anyway, what else do people say here? It suddenly went quiet. Are we just all both reading? Oh, thank you, Sassy Coops, for donating 20 pounds.
Oh, wow.
That's, some people work and don't work and still donate. I appreciate you. Thank you for however you're bringing in money. Thank you. Really and nice. We can use all the donations we can get. We are a very small org. Our yearly budget is $180,000 a year, and I don't make any money. I do this all for volunteer.
And so far, I've made like a couple $100, but I stopped sending in my
and we should definitely pay
contract fee. But I also don't make any money because I feel like we need to spend it on other things than our salaries. So, yes,
I know that's what I'm struggling with too.
It's like we just do it because we care, and
we just
then we can get more money for important work.
So let's see. Can we get a news station on board? Yeah, like I was hoping that we would get some more press attention, but really it hasn't happened like it should. And so if you have any press contacts, please, I will probably do more to reach out to all my press contacts and do another press release. And I know one group just sent me a press release for me to approve, and I'm like, I'm doing a radio show right now, I can't. So maybe they'll get some press attention on this. Let's see what else. This is torturous, horrible, painful animal abuse. No, it's not, because
they're under anesthesia.
There's animal cruelty. Get all funds stopped to Washington State University. This is cruel and disgusting. Boycott this university.
And so these comments are then what get animal advocates who are working on actual animal cruelty really frustrated because, and I hope that you're just as angry about actual animal cruelty and trying to stop that as you are on this, and not just, typing rage bait, because there is actual animal cruelty going on, and we need to be naming that as true animal cruelty and not watering the legal definition of cruelty by calling things like this cruel. It's not ethically the right way to teach surgery, when we know that there are other ways that can better serve students, animals, and the community. But
Mhm.
I don't disagree that I'm sure these animals were treated very well. Like in the case of the ghosts, they were treated very well when they were at WSU. And they didn't experience any pain or suffering because they were anesthetized fully during these procedures. And
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
This
Now
one
I
says,
sound like I'm justifying and defending it, but I'm just,
No.
we have
What
to
a group.
be we have to argue about these semantics, I think.
Absolutely. And here's the problem. We always paint the other side as monsters, and we have to realize the person, when you're saying what a group of heartless, soulless, cruel subhumans, that is, if you have a boyfriend, that is your boyfriend. If you have a mom or a dad, they are your mom or your dad. Like, these are loved ones. These are people who believe that they're doing the right thing. They're not monsters. Make
And
the
by
school
even being able
famous.
to say that kind of a comment shows a total lack of empathy
Yeah.
and consideration for other humans, which
Yeah.
humans are animals too. We need to show care and compassion to each other. And we can't be in these separate silos of like animal rights and
This us versus
human
them
rights. Like we have to be
mentality.
working together.
Yeah. But it's scary how the people being platformed right now in the animal rights movement are the animals above all else people, the button pusher, the people who would kill all of humanity. And that's what a lot of, I think, veterinarians believe what animal rights activists are the people who put animals above humans. And I want them to know that there are a whole bunch of women, mostly animal activists, who believe that no, we're fighting for one health, that anything that harms one species harms us all. And so we are here to protect all species equally. We are not about humans being less than other animals. And here, before I pass judgment, I would like to know the age of the 8 horses and the goats. We don't know. What I mean, if the horses are over 20 and are not rideable, or maybe even donated because of age and owner, rather than letting it suffer, did this. I mean, dogs and cats get killed because they're not wanted. But here's like another thing a lot of people say is these horses are going to slaughter, or this is not true. These horses are healthy and are able to be adopted. But in a lot of cases, people say, like, if an animal is going to slaughter or they're going to be euthanized anyway for whatever reason, why not have, even if this was a medical condition where the horse was going to be euthanized and their person loved them and they're donating them to school and they're going to have surgery practiced on them and then be euthanized. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is you're wasting resources. The students could be learning on an animal who actually needs a procedure under the guidance of an experienced veterinarian. You're wasting suture material, you're wasting anesthesia, sterile equipment, gloves on an animal who will be killed. And you're denying students the ability to practice post-anesthesia recovery. So it's not an effective way to train students, and it's a waste of their time. So, and we have so many animals out there who need care and who are not getting care right now. So that's why Even in the perfect scenario where it was a beloved animal who is their quality of life has declined and now it's time to euthanize them. So why not have students practice surgery on them? Even in that case, it's not good. And I want to go through the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges guidelines where they even like say, oh no, I lost Larea. Did you mean to?
I lost my audio.
No.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Well, I can't hear you, so I don't know.
Oh
what
no.
happened.
Well, I don't know if you can like log out and come back in if you want, if that works, or you can go to the little dialy thing and manage your output. But let me find the American Association of AVMC guidelines. Let's see.
I think it's on my end because my headphones died, and then
this is the old one.
I lost it. So if this is the end, then that's all right too.
Let me just pull this up here. Let's see if this is on here. Oh, here, let me pull this up, add this to the stage. So this is the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges guidelines. And let's see what it says about. Is this the long one? Oh yeah, it's the long one. I wonder if I can find terminal. Oh. No, it doesn't have euthanize. Whenever possible, animals should not be euthanized solely for educational purposes. Cadavers used in teaching should be sourced from animals that have died or are euthanized at or nearing the end of their natural productive life. Willed body donation programs in which the donation is accompanied by owner consent can serve as ethical sources of cadavers. If necessary, cadavers or live animals may be purchased. Institutions should work towards establishing auditing process to ensure transparency and ethical sourcing. Cadavers should be used strategically, purposefully, and to the fullest extent possible. Responsible and ethically sourced cadavers when cadaver use is necessary in the veterinary curriculum.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah.
I can hear you again.
Okay, implement respectful methods of cadaver acquisition. Let's see, use and final deposition appropriate to local context and culture. Implement and culture. If we change the culture, we can change everything. What if we had a culture where we respected animals? Then they would have to listen to us. I'm trying. They don't have the word terminal in this at all. So I wonder. Euthanize. See where euthanasia is used. Only pets who died naturally or were euthanized for medical reasons should be considered eligible, and the decision to euthanize an animal should be a joint one made by both the animal owner and their veterinarian. Animals should not be accepted into the program if there's any concern of disease risk to any individuals handling the specimens. Recommendations for specimens that should be omitted from this is willed body program include any specimens that have recently undergone invasive surgery, have an undiagnosed central nervous system disorder, or carry the potential zoonotic disease transmission. A weight restriction of 27 kilograms for canine specimens is suggested to prevent physical difficulties in moving or transporting the cadaver by students. Let's see what else they say. These donations should have been euthanized within 24 hours of the fresh necropsy and can be refrigerated prior to use, never frozen. It's nice. Since all specimens have been euthanized for medically sound reasons, they often exhibit associated pathologies, further altering normal anatomical structures, blah, blah. Fresh cadaveric tissue can be collected from recently euthanized or deceased animals and may be refrigerated prior to use, blah, blah, blah. Whenever possible, animals should not be euthanized solely for medical purposes. Cadavers used in teaching should be sourced from animals that have died or euthanizing or euthanized or nearing the end of their natural or productive life. Was the WSU program in line with that? I don't think so. And your dean is on the board of this too.
Oh, here's another one. Oh, wait, go back.
Hmm.
Number C, letter C. If necessary, cadavers or live animals may be purchased. Institutions should work towards auditing processes to ensure transparency
Yeah.
in ethical sourcing.
Yeah. I don't think that was done here.
Yeah.
So, yay. But our work isn't over. We still have to make sure that these horses go to a sanctuary, that the goats are no longer used for these labs.
And that all the other vet schools follow suit. And that WSU can be a leader in changing curriculums across the country and hopefully the world, and showing that we don't only have to rely on models to get surgical experience, but we can rely on models for training so that students become proficient enough to support their communities by providing access to care through community-based programs under the guidance of experienced surgeons.
Yep. My battery is about to die, even though it's plugged in.
All right.
My computer's using way more juice than necessary, and I've got no more ports to plug in another thing. So
that's all right. Thank you everyone for being here and for watching and for your support, and
for your kind and professional letters.
Yes.
And stay tuned, and thank you Beagle Freedom Project, especially for their ongoing work with this. Why did my face suddenly get really light for some reason? I don't. And thank you, PETA and In Defense of Animals, and lots of other groups who are working on this too. So,
and let's keep working on all the issues. There's a plethora of them, and let's do it kindly and professionally, and show that people who care about animals are reasonable people and that we want to go about this in a way that does the best for animals and people and communities.
Yep. And like, follow, share, comment to help elevate this post, and we will see you all next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
And